Welcome to Front Porch Lawyer, where we address the humanity of lawyering. Many attorneys are winning battles in the courtroom, but losing battles in their lives. From interpersonal relationships to stress management, Front Porch Lawyer explores topics that improve your practice, your lifestyle, and even your love life. Leave feeling a little more inspired with a smile on your face. Here's your host, Francine Tone.
Did you know that you have shortcuts in your brain that get triggered during times of stress? And these shortcuts can result in your inadvertently being biased against something that you're consciously not in favor of. If you think you're immune because you happen to be a lawyer, think again. Hi, welcome to Front Porch Lawyer, where we explore the humanity of lawyering. I'm Francine Tone, your host and guide. Now, Covid-19 is a crisis, and you've had to make rapid changes in your law practice and the way you do business. Despite some of the benefits that may have risen to the surface, these are still changes, and change itself induces stress, not to mention Covid-19. Now, when we end up in crisis mode, even the most well-intentioned lawyers will fall prey to patterns of bias and exclusion. Research shows that when we are under stress, we often default to heuristics or shortcuts, and these are gut instincts, rather than making deliberate choices and decisions. What this means to you is that you have to be on extra guard against the tricks your brain plays on you. At this point, I get curious looks and questions because lawyers believe that they have everything under control, even your brain. Newsflash, your brain plays tricks on you all the time, and this is a topic I'll be covering quite a bit in many videos. Now, during the COVID-19 crisis, it's best to recognize that you are under some stress. Some more than others, but stress nonetheless. Because of this continuous level of stress, being aware of our natural tendency to operate with implicit or unconscious bias becomes important. Implicit or unconscious bias operates outside of our awareness and can be in direct contradiction to what you espouse as your beliefs and your values. What makes it so dangerous is that it automatically seeps into the way we show up and affects our behavior, and it's outside of our full awareness. These are heuristics and the shortcuts that the brain takes when it's under stress. These are biases that have developed over a lifetime. Some are ingrained from what your brain took in as a child. Some are developed as adults, and some are even genetically built into us. Not all bias, though, is invidious, rising to constitutional levels. Bias is anything which assumes facts not in evidence. It fails to take into account other people's perspectives. Let's take video conferencing just as an example, since you've probably turned to tech and video conferencing to run your business. How does implicit bias show up in video conferencing? Did you check with every person in your office staff to see if they have all the necessary infrastructure to handle video conferencing well? Recently, I was on a video conference with a small group, and the conference was led by a woman who runs a woman speaker bureau. And I've had video conferences with her many, many times. But in this particular instance, she apologized because she was at home, not in her office, and she said that her tech at home was not the same as at her office. As a result, her video was spotty and she often froze. And that's what happens when you have a Wi-Fi connection instead of a hardwire connection to the internet. Hard wiring requires certain cables long enough to connect your computer at the location of the computer to your internet source. It may even require additional hardware that you don't have at home. Not everyone at home necessarily has the sufficient tech to match what they have at the office. This doesn't mean you can't operate. What it means that as a lawyer and leader of your firm, you must assure yourself and everyone that they have the required infrastructure, or be very forgiving and understanding if they don't. And make sure that everybody is feeling okay whether they have the infrastructure or not. And you have to be kind of outwardly forgiving and understanding if they don't have it. You need to make sure no one feels left out or feels like an outsider if they don't have the same tech at home. It also means that during video conferencing, your behavior needs to be extra inclusive. For example, you need to make sure everybody's acknowledged in these meetings. Some people will be less vocal in video than they are in person, and you as the leader need to pull them out and make them feel included. You need to show your vulnerability and acknowledge the difficulties you may be having so that everybody else is placed at ease, because that shows that you acknowledge that they are probably having difficulties and they'll feel better about it. You may want to turn on closed caption. These days, I watch television shows on closed caption because my husband sometimes can't understand what the actors are saying due to accent or speed of speech, but he catches it all on closed caption. You may want to send documents and agendas out in advance so everyone has time to take a look at it in their own time before the video conference. On a more pernicious side, be watchful of gender and racial biases. For example, women tend to be punished for being caregivers, while men tend to get fatherhood bonus points for being caregivers. And that's kind of a natural tendency that a lot of people have because of their social upbringing. With everyone at home caregiving, these are unconscious biases that may inadvertently show up. So you have to be watchful about how you show up and the language you use, such as being careful about saying something that focuses on a woman's being distracted because they're caregiving, or giving men extra points because they're getting the job done despite the fact that they're caregiving. Focus on performance, not on the circumstances of an individual's performance. You need to be aware and sensitive of some racial issues. Like, for instance, right now, Asian and Asian Americans are feeling a bit of an uptick in racism globally. Being wary of assumptions that you might make because someone is of Asian descent is something to consider. And finally, show empathy. Try to see the world from the other's perspectives, and be gracious when kids run into the room and into the video screen. Today, I love that we're seeing some live television hosts where they're at home and their kids are interrupting the show a bit. It's just part of the process today, and we all should accept that process. To help you elevate your perspective and keeping unconscious bias at bay, think of two common objections that we make as lawyers. One is facts not in evidence. That would be other people's perspectives. Or lack of foundation, assuming things when you haven't even covered the basics yet. So recognize that unconscious bias shows up in all situations and is not limited to invidious discrimination. Comment below or send me an email with your thoughts and feedback. Be sure to follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram so you don't miss an episode. Thank you for joining me on my front porch. This is Francine Tone and Front Porch Lawyer, and I'll see you next time.